Bat Force Radio.
Bat Force Radio is rated M for mature, or should that be immature?
Hey guys, Dustin Nguyen.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder.
This is Paul Dini.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
You're listening to Bat Force Radio.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, and you're listening to Bat Force Radio, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to Bat Force Radio, the Batman and DC podcast with no limits. This week, we are joined by Bat Force Tom in California.
What's up, guys?
Grandpa Batman in Texas.
Howdy.
I'm Robin Cross in Canada. And this week's guest is one of the most recognizable illustrators of the past 2 decades and a consistent fan favorite, known for his comics work on books like The Black Mirror and The Batman Who Laughs, as well as some of the most iconic covers at DC Comics. Judge Dredd at 2000 AD, co-creator of The Losers at Vertigo and Witches at Image, concept design work on films like Dredd and Star Wars The Last Jedi, and a long line of sold-out movie posters created for Mondo. This December, he will return to writing on a 3-issue miniseries for DC Black Label titled Batman One Dark Knight, which he will also be illustrating. And joining us today to most likely endure our prodding for information, the man called Jock.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Wow, listening to that introduction, I always get a bit surprised when I hear what I've actually done.
Yeah, well, and I could even list it. Like I could have listed everything, but I figure after like 20 minutes, you're probably going to get bored of that. Thank you so much for being here. How have you been?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, we're just chatting before we've come on. Lockdown's been tough over here in the UK, but we're kind of coming out of it a little bit more now. But actually, my day-to-day hasn't changed that much, because I've just been in my studio, thankfully still busy, still working. So I've had a pretty busy week. I've been inking a bunch of pages, but yeah, it's all good. Thank you.
Yeah, this was a big announcement to come out, and obviously everyone's super excited to see you on a new Batman project. So obviously we want to talk about as much as you're able to about One Dark Knight, but I'd like to rewind first and go through your own origin story, if you're into that. Sure. I just wanted to touch on what was your first inspiration that drew you to art, and what was the path that led you from there into it becoming your profession?
Well, for as long as I can remember, I've always loved drawing. So I don't know where, I can't really pinpoint particularly where that came from, even, just as long as I can remember. There's been certain little moments for sure that kind of made me kind of feel particularly inspired and kind of realize that. I remember there's a in the late 70s, early 80s, there was like a magazine over here called Lookin', which was like a kind of TV pop culture magazine, but it had like comic strips in it, and it had like painted covers by some amazing people, like movie poster painters and stuff. And I remember seeing like a cover of that when I was about kind of 8 or 9 in a newsagent's, and my little brain making the connection that someone had drawn the cover, and it looked incredible to me, and it was like magic. Like, how do you make something look so sort of realistic or so sort of evocative or whatever? But they've drawn it, so that was definitely a moment. But really, the big one, which has led me to where I am now, is discovering 2000 AD, the comic over here in the UK. I came to it quite late. I was about 14, I think, before I actually saw it. But the minute I discovered 2000 AD, I became an instant fan of it, and I couldn't get enough of it. And from that moment on, I wanted to draw comics.
And that worked pretty well. What was your avenue into making your way there? Like, did you go through art schooling, all that kind of thing, or?
Well, I tried to, but I was rejected from every art college that I applied
Geniuses
for.
making decisions there.
I did 1 year what's called like a foundation course, where you kind of do a little bit of graphic design, a little bit of illustration, a little bit of fine art, to sort of find out what you're going to specialize in, and then you apply for a degree course. I'm not sure what the equivalent is over in the States, but yeah, basically, like a degree qualification. And I couldn't get in anywhere. I was rejected from everywhere. I think they could smell the comics on me, actually, and that was really frowned upon back then. It certainly wasn't considered an art form, and the college was constantly trying to stop me, kind of, doing stuff that looked even slightly, even though at the time, comics wise, I was kind of more into Dave McKean or Kent Williams, Bill Sienkiewicz, the more painterly stuff. So that there was a crossover with, I think, the fine art world, but it was just not. It was a no-go, and so I was rejected. And then I moved down here, where I still live in Totnes in the southwest of England, and just tried to build a portfolio. And I used to go, so this is before the internet, so I used to go to conventions each year over here in the UK with a little portfolio under my arm and get rejected, and then go back again the following year. And they'd sort of, they'd remember my name, Jock, but they'd go, oh yeah, I remember you, but then I get rejected again. And that went on for 7 years, I think. So I was very, very poor for 7 years. And then I got my first break meeting Andy Diggle at 2000 AD. Essentially, and touch wood, I've never been out of work since. So it was kind of from nothing to a constant flow of stuff. And joking aside, what, like the stuff you mentioned at the beginning, I'm constantly very grateful for the stuff that I've been able to work on. And in lots of ways, One Dark Night for me is sort of absolutely the biggest thing I've done, because it's all me. So I'm massively excited. It was amazing seeing the response from people, when it was announced. It's just put the wind in my sails to try and make it, I'm already putting everything I've got into it, to be honest, but it's made me even more excited about making it as amazing as I can.
Wow. Yeah, there is definitely, like, we noticed that too. I think at least within our ranks of our little nerdy group, you're definitely a huge favorite. So when we had heard that, so when we had heard that this was going to be all you, and we saw the cover and the press release, we were like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. You mentioned 7 years of rejection, 7 years of trying to grind it out. How do you mentally persevere through 7 years of, that's a long time, of rejection? How do you keep yourself going and stay motivated and tell yourself, like, this is going to work someday?
Yeah, I mean, we also had our first child in that 7 years. So I had a young baby and still no work. I had a couple of bits and pieces, like I did sort of like a few magic cards, for Wizard of the Coast and stuff. Very, very sporadic. And I really should have got a proper job, once our son was born. But the truth is, and it's a slightly sort of, is it a whimsical answer? I don't know, not really. But the truth is I just felt like I could do it. Like I felt like I could do it. So like, my gut feeling. Of course, if it hadn't have worked out, that would have meant nothing. It's all very well me saying that now, but actually, if it hadn't worked out, that meant that I was extremely naive. A little bit selfish, trying to kind of follow the thing that I wanted to do, when I should have arguably, in the very early years, got a more regular job, in inverted commas, and supported my family and everything. But I still stuck at it, and I felt like I can do it. So. It was that, really, to be honest. Also, just the love of doing it. I didn't really care about the money side or the career side as such. I just wanted to be able to get in a position where we could be okay, and we could get by, and I get to draw. That was my motivation, really. So when opportunities came along, I definitely kind of grab them with both hands and try to make the most of it. Meeting Andy Diggle, for example, I remember at the time he said, your work's good, but it's not quite right for 2000 AD. And by this point, I think that was actually after 7 years, and I kind of pushed back a bit, and I said, well, what do you want me to do? Like, should I do another sample script? Should I change? You know what I mean? I was trying to hustle a little bit by that point because it had got so long, and I needed to make it work. But yeah, it was just that, to be honest. Just I sort of felt that it was what I really wanted to do, and that was motivation enough.
Wow. Did you pick up any like commercial work during that time, or was it just
not really? Like I say, my first work was for Wizards of the Coast. I met one of the art directors over here at a comic convention, I think in '95, and my first comics work was kind of 99, 2000. So I had a few years of just little bits and pieces. I did a lot of BattleTech cards. Do you remember BattleTech? I did tons of BattleTech cards, like 30 or something like that. But it was nowhere near a kind of
right.
A sort of full-time profession. But even though I was still in my little kind of, it wasn't a studio. It was a corner of our bedroom at the time. Kind of every day trying to do more stuff.
It's cool now that you've come to the point where now you can be the motivation for people, because I'm sure there are people listening who are aspiring illustrators or writers who have been getting rejected, and now they can hear you say, yeah, I got rejected for 7 years, and you can help them keep going.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope so. It's I think persistence is just as important as as talent. To be honest, for that kind of time, when that kind of when you're in that kind of situation, and you just keep going and you just keep, because the thing with this job as well is you're so constantly, I believe, you're never as good as you want to be. So you're constantly improving, at least, even if it's little things to yourself, you're constantly trying to improve on what you're doing, constantly trying to make things better. So it's kind of having a bit of faith that kind of time that you put in and the kind of, the hours that you spend, will pay off, I guess,
Now, when I see your work, it literally stands out from any other artwork that I see. I mean, when I see your work, I know that's Jock. And artists like yourself, you see the world in a different way than, us readers in a way. And I always wonder how you develop that style, or is it just something subconsciously that's what you see and that's what you just put on paper?
Yeah, essentially the second one, there's nothing really designed about it. It's just the only designed decision that I made was when I first got my first job at 2000 AD. I sent in like a painting of Dredd, of Judge Dredd, and Andy Diggle phoned me and he said, "Can we use that painting for as a cover?" And I was like, "Wow, yeah, of course." And then he said, "And can you draw 12 pages of black and white Judge Dredd in a month?" And I just said yes, but I hadn't actually drawn any black and white at that point for a long time. I tended to paint my work. So the only decision I made was to use a lot of black. Like, that was the only sort of stylistic choice, I guess, early on. Right. But everything else is just, I don't really like using the word organic, but it's just grown naturally, really. I've been very lucky that first working with Will Dennis at Vertigo on The Losers, I had a very free reign to essentially do it the way that I wanted to do it, really. If perhaps if I was on a superhero book, and when you're starting out, the temptation is to sort of look at other work and wonder if you should be doing it more like this guy, or you really like another guy and think, well, does that suit this kind of book better? And sometimes it does, it might. But I've been very lucky that I've been able to follow my own ideas, I guess, and as well, when I got the job doing the covers for The Losers too, like I really sort of tried to go to town on those and just do my own thing. And again, that could have gone very wrong, I guess. It could have gone south. You're kind of taking a chance doing that. But luckily, people seem to respond to it. I think that's hopefully as an artist, it's your job to kind of put your heart into what you do, and I think that's what readers see. They can tell, when someone's heart is in it, and that's always been my kind of goal, and I sort of believe that that's kind of what we should all do, really, and that's what leads to good work, and all the best people have that unique kind of, to me, have that kind of unique look about them, where you go, oh, that's Mignola, that's Bill Sienkiewicz, you do just know. And I don't have any. It's lovely to hear you say that, because I don't sense that about my own stuff. I just try and draw the way that I draw, but it's really lovely to hear that people do respond to it in that way.
Yeah, not just comic readers, but other comic artists and some of your peers. Something that I remember is I was getting a commission done by Chris Burnham at a convention, and I had, I was at his booth talking to him, and I had in my arm tucked. I think you did like a sketch, or you were doing something at like the 2000 AD booth, or somebody had like a sketch of yours. And so, I'm talking to him, and he looks and he goes, "Can I see that?" And yeah, so I show it to him, and he goes, and he looks at it, and he's just quiet, and he goes, "Fucking Jock." Like he just he was like, "God damn, he's so good." And then he goes, "How long did it take him? How long did it take him to do that?" And I was like, "Oh man, I don't know, like 15, 20 minutes tops." And he was just like, "Man," like he just couldn't. He was beside himself. And so, yeah, it's. I love seeing that. I love seeing when other creators are gushing over, the work of their peers. And he was looking at your stuff, and he just like loved the way it looked, and he was like taken aback by it, because I think Chris Burnham loves to spend, like he goes over everything like meticulously, and he spends a lot of time, and I think he's very critical of himself, like a lot of artists can be. And so I think at the time he was trying to get himself to do a little bit faster for the convention scene, to like, get out sketches real quick for fans. And he sees one of yours, and he was just like, man. So yeah, it's definitely universal. You've got a certain style that it catches the eye for sure.
Oh, thanks, man, and thank you, Chris. I love Chris. His stuff's so good, and yeah, it's again, we are sort of stylistically very different, I guess, but there's those guys that just have their own unique take is I think one of the real special things about comics, that it lets you have those voices within it. It's really rewarding to see.
Yeah. Do you have any specific influences that you can remember off the top of your head, or you saw their stuff and was like, I think I can do something like this, or this kind of gravitates into your work a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, early on when I was very young, 2000 AD was the thing. Steve Dillon was probably my favorite back then. And then as I got a little bit older, I think that kind of Meltdown came out with Kent Williams and John J. Muth, and it was kind of like, holy shit, look at this, you can do comics like this. And and I was getting a bit older, and it felt like a more mature approach, which is a mistake, by the way. There's nothing more mature about a painterly comic than a well-drawn black and white comic. But still, at the time that I kind of responded more to that stuff. Then later on, when I didn't get into art college, and I sort of thought, okay, I'm going to try and make a go of comics specifically. I went into a comic shop, and I picked up I think it was like Kid Eternity with Sean Phillips, and Enigma by Duncan Fegredo, those two guys seemed to me to have a nice blend of drawing very, very well, had a great design sense, but also had a kind of more of a unique style, I guess, more of a unique take, quite a lot of black again, interestingly. And in fact, the funny story, when I did my first Dread story, John McCrae, the artist, did Hitman with Garth Ennis. He, when my first Dread was printed, he legitimately thought that it was Duncan and Sean working under a pseudonym, and it was the two of them working together. So probably very early on, you could see my Sean and Duncan influences more. When I discovered Hellboy, Mignola, I thought his cartooning was wonderful. How it's so deceptively simple, but it's describing so much. I think he does that as maybe better than anyone. But as time's gone on, just sort of started, when you're younger, I think it's easy to kind of look at other people and think, oh, I'd love to be able to do that, and then you kind of like you're influenced by it maybe. But now as time's gone on, I just try and follow my own ideas, I guess, my own kind of things. But there's saying that, there's constantly influenced by everyone. My wall, I've got lots of mood boards up along my studio wall for my Batman story, and there's tons of Neil Adams and Bernie Wrightson, the old 70s stuff up there. There's from Cult, Bernie Wrightson. There's all all sorts.
Now you are the influence.
What can go wrong?
Now, as far as we're obviously a very Batman area focused kind of thing. So as far as the Batman stuff that you're really known for, the DC stuff in general that you're most known for is your work with Scott. You guys have done quite a few things together on the Batman stuff. Now, Black Mirror, you did the Batman Who Laughs, etc. Now, if I remember correctly, you had already done an arc on Detective before Scott came on. How did you end up working on Black Mirror with him? Because that just really was the beginning of your notoriety for Batman in particular.
Yeah, I mean that book, at the time, the Losers movie had just come out, and me and Andy Diggle had another creator-owned story called Snapshot that we were keen to get to. So I wasn't necessarily looking to do a company book in, I think it was 2010, that would have been. But I got a random phone call on a Friday night, and it was Scott, and I'd heard of him. Like I knew, I think American Vampire had just come out of Vertigo. But he just called me out of the blue and asked me about doing this Batman story with him. And I just had a really good feeling about him. Is basically, again, that gut thing that I was talking about earlier. I just had a really good feeling talking to him. And then when he mentioned that it was about James Jr., the baby from Batman Year One, I was just like, oh, that's kind of genius. Like, why has that not been done yet?
Did he send you a 500-page script?
No, not at that point. Okay. And then it was Scott's told this story a few times. It was San Diego Comic-Con, like maybe the week after, and we arranged to meet one afternoon and went up to the Field, which is this Irish pub that I like, and we had a few pints in the afternoon where he sort of said, she told me what was going on in the story, and I was just totally sold, and I was in, and thank God I was, because that book was it still seems to be on the shelves. People still seem to bring it up and mention it a lot. It's just one of those, it's funny when you're doing it at the time, you don't necessarily, think, you can't design to have longevity. Do you know what I mean? You just do something as well as you can do it, and some things take and some things don't. But I will say, like, working on that book, it was a really sort of, it was a really special time, to be honest. Like, everyone shared everything with everyone else. So Francesco, all the editors, all the script, everything was constantly doing the rounds between the whole team, and that doesn't always happen. So yeah, we had a really good time working on it, and it felt good. But I don't think any of us had any idea where it would lead, and kind of what it's gone on to still be like an evergreen book now.
Yeah. And one of the craziest things is it led to that cover art you did for issue 880. Is just it's on T-shirts, phone cases, skateboards, underwear. It's so incredibly that because of that cover, that issue is worth ridiculous money still today.
I can't find one. I literally can't find one.
Well, I threw away like 30 copies of it.
I saw you tweet that before, and people were just crying in the replies.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah, that's going to be sort of printed on my gravestone. I think that cover. I think that's probably, you know. But yeah, no, you know, joking aside, like like you mentioned, the comics is worth you know, essentially hundreds of dollars now.
Yeah.
And it's you know, it's not a relaunch, it's not a number one, it's not it's just a random cover, and it's only worth that because of the art, which is, you know, that's the thing that really gets me. I think that's really amazing. And you know, at the time I didn't think it was, I thought it was all right, but I didn't think there was anything particularly, you know, particularly good about it. In fact, I sent it to my friend Lee Garbett, and I was so close to finishing it, and I was getting a bit I said to Lee, like, is this a bit boring? Like, it's just his head, you know, should I kind of crop in, you know, make it a bit more interesting? Sometimes when, you know, sometimes with a cover or a cover design, if something, you know, you sort of don't want the subject just to be sort of sat there on the cover. You want it to feel interesting and hopefully dynamic, or whatever it is you're going for. Obviously changes, but I was concerned that it was that it was just his head, and I said to Lee, you know, should I crop this in or something, like, you know, lose an eye, or, you know, tighten up, you know, Dutch the angle, and he just said no, leave it. It looks great. And then I sent it to Mike Martz, my editor, and I said, you know, what do you think of this? And he said, like, the greatest cover I've ever seen. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'm wrong here. And then I put it up on Twitter, and this was in 2010, so like it wasn't what it is today. And I just had you know, my mentions were just like constant for like hours from, you know, so many peers and people that I, you know, admired. It was, you know, yeah, I literally just was clueless. I had no idea, and I feel like I've created a bit of a monster, because the amount of tattoos, full back tattoos, beach towels, kids' blankets, like, you know, it you know, hopefully it looks good on a comic cover, but I don't necessarily want you to wrap your baby in that artwork, to be honest with you. You know.
What's funny is, so I always think of this. We had Clay Mann on one day, and he was talking about how yeah, he's awesome, and he was talking about the memories that you get tied up in any particular piece that you're working on, whether it's a page or a cover, whatever it is. When you look at it, you can remember what you were doing at that time in your life. So it's funny that you can see, you know, some guy at a con lifts up his shirt and shows you his back, and you think, oh yeah, that's what I was doing that day.
Yeah, there's been a lot of tattoos, yeah, and which, you know, which is, it's like, for me, that's the highest compliment, and, you know, and anyone could give you, you know, if they want your art on their body. It's amazing. But yeah, like full back tattoos of that thing, I mean, it's quite a sight to behold.
Wow.
Speaking of the work with Scott, we were on with Scott one day, and I think this is probably around the time of All-Star Batman that you guys were doing, and he was telling us how you revealed your Star Wars gig to him, because you guys were planning to work on the sequel series to Witches.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that you had texted him or called him and said, yeah, but how would you feel about putting this off? I got another job offer. And he said, oh, what's the job? And he said you sent him this picture of that you had just some your first concept work of Luke in a robe and everything, and you said, you take that fucking job. But what's it like to get that kind of offer? Like, hey, we need someone to do concept work for a new Star Wars movie. We want you to do it. What is that feeling?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was sort of my last tick on the bucket list of stuff that I really wanted to do. You know, I've been very lucky. You know, when I was growing up, 2000 Judge Dredd was my favorite character, and that was my first comics work. And, you know, Batman's a favorite, and I've got to work on Batman. You know, I've done, you know, I've ticked a lot of my boxes. You know, when people say, what would you like to work on? And my honest answer is generally kind of like, you know, I've kind of, you know, done them all really. But I can't deny that having done a little bit of concept work for other films, you know, when I heard they were making a new Star Wars movie, I was a bit like, man, I'd love to get the call for that, you know, but I didn't, you know, for episode 7. But then yeah, I mean, it was, you know, what can you say? It was amazing. You know, episode 7 hadn't come out by that point, you know, and I'm sure people's opinions on the new trilogy vary. So we won't go into that. But at the time, you know, my first week up at Pinewood Studios, so I'm working up on the lot. I had no idea what to expect, what sort of environment it was going to be, anything. I tend to work. I've done just about all my work here from my studio. The first week I started, it was just me. There was four I was doing costume design. There was four costume concept artists in the end, but it was only me for a couple of weeks. So you can imagine, I'm driving up by myself, not sure what to expect. Going to Pinewood Studios, this amazing place steeped in history.
You got to physically go to the studio to work?
That's where I worked. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, when I used to go to the bathroom, I had to walk past the full-size Millennium Falcon that they were building.
Holy shit!
It was crazy. It was absolutely surreal and crazy and amazing. It was so But also, there's you feel a pressure because suddenly it's like, oh, I guess this is my time. Now it's up to me to do it. So there's kind of pressure there. But it was incredible. But yeah, but I was just saying that first day I went up, I got set up, and Michael Kaplan, the costume designer, said, are you ready? And I said, yeah. And he put down a bunch of kind of printouts and stuff that he'd been gathering together, and he said, this is your first job, and it was Luke Skywalker. And it's just like that was the moment, to answer your question, that was the moment I was just like, holy shit, what, like how has this happened?
And then you can't talk to anybody about it. That's the thing.
No, really.
How is that when you've got an NDA and you can't talk about it for a year or two?
Yeah, and Scott, bless him, I didn't actually send him an image because we weren't even allowed to email the images, let alone send them by text message to mates. So
yeah, you didn't send him anything. I don't know. No. I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, what was I talking about? I made that up.
Yeah. So and I was there for 9 months. I did 3 days a week up at Pinewood, and then I'd come back home, and I was doing a Batman story with Scott at the time, issue 44. So I was trying to balance the two things. But yeah, it was incredible. And lots of my stuff made it onto the screen, which is an amazing, feeling. I've got hot toys of some of the characters that I designed up on my shelf. Luke's up there. And, it was amazing. There's not really much more I can say about it. It was, it wasn't without its challenges because it was it was a big thing to do, but how it is, when time goes by, you tend to forget the harder times, I guess, and you just remember the takeaway. You tend to remember the positives, and of course, I'm just very feel very lucky to have had a part in it all.
And that's when you email or call the art colleges that rejected you and say, "How's them apples?"
Yeah. Check this,
Star Wars. What are you doing?
What is something that from that time that that we could easily pick out? Oh yeah, Jock designed that. That's his. It's on the screen. Like, what would you say is the coolest thing that you see on screen that you're like, yeah, it's mine?
Yeah, that's easy. But I'll give you one other answer first, which is my personal favorite thing, which is just a small thing, but when you tend I think when you look at your own stuff, you probably see it differently to other people, and little things that you like. Some people might go, "Why on earth do you like that?" But there's at the beginning of The Last Jedi, when there's a fleet of rebel bombers come along, so we had to design a new kind of flight suit and helmet for the rebel bombers, and that helmet that they wear is mine, and that's my favorite thing that I designed. But
Did they give you one?
No, come on, are you kidding? No chance.
Oh, man.
A couple of things like Leia's big collar, that was from my drawing. But the big one was Luke Skywalker at the end, his force projection, his black costume.
Oh.
So lots and lots of the job is obviously very directed by Michael, the costume designer. You do a ton of stuff and he says yes, no, and change this and da-da-da. And like, I was the concept artist for Luke's gear while he's on the island, for example. But the truth is, when they started building it, Michael then looks at it with his eye and change, and it's quite different to my original drawings. But for the costume at the end, when it's they weren't sure whether to use his Jedi robes or whether to go for something new. And at that point, it was one of the last things I did. So I've been there for 6-7 months maybe, and I just said, "Oh, can I try something?" There was, I feel like those Jedi robes are a little bit cumbersome, and I felt for the ending, he clearly needed to be kind of like sort of ready for business. He was, and I always like the way that he looked in Return of the Jedi when he's a little more fitted and a bit more kind of sharper, I guess. So so that black costume, I did maybe 5 drawings with different lengths of cape and various cuts, but it was only about 5 or 6, and they just sort of said, yeah, we like that. And like most characters as well, I had maybe 40 drawings, like 50, but for that one, I didn't know whether it was going to be in the movie until I was sat in the theater watching it, and Luke walks in and he's wearing that costume.
Wow.
So for me, that's the big one, because essentially, like, instead of being told we need this, I said, can I try something? And it got through, and it's his force projection, which is that's like the ideal Luke Skywalker, isn't it? I'm sure that's what his force projection would be. So that's probably the one that I'd point at and go, I'm massively proud that I got to do that.
Batman and Luke Skywalker is top of the line as it gets.
And with how known for Joker you are, and also for Luke now, that's an odd connection to Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. In fact, when I met him, I told him that I'd worked on Last Jedi, but I should have shown him that Joker cover, shouldn't I?
Yeah. So, okay, let's get to the now. As we mentioned earlier, the big recent announcement was Batman One Dark Knight. So you finally writing and illustrating your own Batman miniseries on DC Black Label, so you can do whatever the hell you want. It doesn't have to fit in continuity. What are we expecting here?
Yeah, I'm so excited about it. It's similarly to Star Wars. It's kind of like, who gets to do this? I feel very lucky, and I'm really I'm so happy that the announcement went as well as it did, and people seem to like the idea of it. I got a few guys saying like another Batman book, but even those guys seem to say, but you know what, if you're doing it, then I'm going to buy it. And that was
absolutely.
Thank you whoever said that, because it was means a lot. But so Batman One Dark Knight is so actually, so let's rewind. It came about by having a drink with Mark Doyle, who was the Batman group editor a few years ago. But I've known Mark since he started at DC under Will Dennis, so I've known him the whole time. He's a friend, and we met for a drink at a Chicago con, maybe I want to say 4 or 5 years ago. On the first night, he just texted and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Actually, I've just got in." So he said, "Do you fancy a drink?" So it was just me and him sat at the bar, and he sort of said, "Yeah, what would you just kind of like to do?" And I said, "You know what? I'd love to write and draw a Batman book." And he went, "Approved." And obviously, I've had to put in treatments and pictures and get them up, but he was joking, but he kind of wasn't joking, so it's like, oh wow, maybe I could do this. So
and that could have been anything when he just approved it. It could have been a story of Batman being rejected from art college for 7 years.
exactly. But yeah, so and then I met him a few years later at New York, and went for a walk around a few blocks around the convention center and chatted about what the possibilities of what it could be. My basic premise, my basic idea was I really like stories that are just kind of like, a night in the life, kind of, maybe this is just like a random Tuesday night for Batman, but we get to follow what a Tuesday looks like for Batman, and it's not a regular night for anyone else, kind of thing. So that's kind of where it started, but it was a little bit vague. And I remember walking around with Mark, and I said goodbye to him, and I was a little bit annoyed with myself that I hadn't given him more of a kind of solid idea, I guess. And I was over there with my friend Lee Garbett again. I got chatting with Lee, and it was actually Lee that mentioned the blackout idea, and I was like, oh man, that's it. That's the thing. It can be like a regular night, but a blackout hits, and then suddenly, there's drama. So the basic premise is essentially, to strip Batman away of all his gadgets, all his support network, I guess, and drop him in the middle of Gotham. Needing to get from point A to point B with hordes of gangs, homing in on him the whole time. Somewhere between something like 16 Blocks and maybe the Warriors, the old 70s New York movie.
Right.
So because I haven't written a whole lot, I just wanted to tell a fairly I wanted to hang it on a quite a simple little premise like that, and when we were talking about the blackout idea, that just seemed to fit, and so that's what I ran with, and but it's 140 pages, so a lot more happens. It's not quite as simple as that, but it's one night in the life, but it's a night that goes that goes pretty wrong. I still wanted to get Batman, by the end, he's so kind of like done. He's having to tear off bits of his cape to wrap like a makeshift cowl around his head, so he's so sort of like battered and bruised that he's just like a brawler, but at this point he hasn't got any of his belts been, all his supplies have been used up. So it's
I can't wait.
That was a long-winded answer for a very simple premise, but that's what I'm going for.
Yeah, we prefer it that way, so it's good.
Yeah, sounds cool.
That sounds amazing.
And I believe part of the premise was that he is after someone in particular. Are you revealing yet who it is he's after, or do we have to wait and see on that?
Sure. I think that's okay. So yeah, he's basically he's escorting a new supervillain, I guess. But and this supervillain sort of feeds on energy, electrical and emotional energy, and. I don't think it's good giving too much away to say that essentially someone sabotages the convoy that EMP is being carried in, and EMP escapes, and that's the cause of the blackout, and Batman needs to get him to Blackgate, before things go really, really wrong.
Wow, interesting. And
awesome.
You're doing the main covers, and I think we've got Chang doing covers, and also was that Lee Garbett doing covers as well?
Yeah, so I'm doing a cover for Cliff for issue 1 of his Catwoman, which comes out in November, and he's repaying the favor by doing issue 1 for me.
That's awesome.
And DC are doing something special where it's well, actually, maybe this will be revealed later on, but Lee's cover is a specific type of cover which fits with the premise of the book, and
I saw it was solicited as a blackout cover.
A blackout cover, that'll do. Let's leave it at that for now. But it's a really cool idea,
and it's really apropos that Jock, the master of black ink darkness, Batman, is doing a blackout book. That's genius. Mind blown. Very well done.
When Chris, the editor, said we're doing sort of a blackout cover, I was like, my cover's already pretty black. Chris, you sure you can get like blacker, none more black? Sure.
Black on black.
Yeah, that was what Lee said in his tweet too. He said, "How much more black could my blackout cover be? None more black." Or if everyone has seen Spinal Tap, you'll understand that.
Yeah, this amazing concept, and it sounds awesome. I'm sure it's going to look amazing.
When does it drop?
It's December, right?
December, issue 1, December the 7th, and then it's bi-monthly after that, every 2 months.
Oh, you're making us wait 2 months between issues. Come on.
Yeah, but the double-sized issue and issues, and I'm already like behind. I mean, it feels like it's a long way away, but it'll come around very, very quickly. So I'm very grateful for those extra months. So my apologies, but it's so that I can make it the way I want it to be.
Is this coming out at is it coming out at the Black Label format? That oversized, yeah.
Well, I believe so. Yeah, I mean, I'm drawing it oversized. That's one of the big things, actually. I'm drawing on these new sort of oversized black label artboard from DC, and I'm absolutely loving it. To be honest, it's quite a lot bigger than a regular comic page. And again, Chris Conroy, the editor, was like, you know, some people respond to this, and other people have found it quite difficult. But for me, I was sort of getting to the point where actually sort of the little 11 by 17 pages, I was finding them a little bit constricting. You know, I tend to like big marks and making, I sort of like to see the ink flying around a little bit, you know, and sometimes that's, you know, it's a bit dangerous. And this larger size lets me get, I guess what a reader would think was essentially detail, you know, but it's actually just because I'm doing it larger, I can get more into the page, and I'm absolutely loving it. I'm very wary of saying this kind of thing, but you know, I'm putting everything I've got into it, and I kind of feel like these are the best pages that I've done ever. So at least that's what it's funny. I was talking to someone about this. I haven't written much before, but I did a Wolverine story for Marvel, a 3-part thing, and when I was doing that, it felt like all of my concern went on the writing side, and the artwork was just enjoyable, because like I feel like sort of most creative people probably have about 20% of their brain that's constantly questioning what they're doing and wondering if it should be better, or can you do this better, or could this be improved, or whatever. And I found that when I was writing, all of that concern goes on the writing, so the artwork was just really enjoyable. And I found the same with this. I'm just having an absolute blast drawing it, and the oversized pages are, I'm loving having that extra room. So I'm hoping people dig it.
It's a great way to view art too, at those oversized pages. The best thing about the black label stuff has been how large we get to see this artwork. I remember when the first issue of Damned was coming out from Lee and Brian.
Yeah.
DC had sent out to shops maybe a month or so before the first issue a version of the first book that had no text in it. It was just the art. And having those big pages with, you know, no speech bubbles or anything, that would be, hey, DC, maybe give us one of those for this book too.
Oh well, we'll see, eh? Yeah, that'd be great. I'm currently I'm writing, drawing, coloring, and I'm currently toying with the idea of lettering it as well.
Wow.
Like Cliff's done that with his books, and I've been talking to Cliff a bit, you know, because we were both sort of doing a similar project, and I don't think I will, but I'm currently sort of toying with the idea of you know, because then it really would be all mine, you know. But yeah,
and
we'll see.
That might open cool opportunities, you know, if you're doing a book where it's in the middle of a blackout, and you had the opportunity to fit the words into the darkness you're drawing. That's some cool opportunities.
Yeah, funny enough, one of the things Cliff said, which was the thing that made me kind of like go, maybe, is you know, he said, like, if I do like those little convention sketches we were talking about earlier, I'll often put like the person I'm giving it to's name in a speech balloon, and you know, and it's very quickly done and quite sketchy. And Cliff was just like, you know, you could do the speech balloons like that. You know, that just looks really cool on your art. And I was like, you know, it kind of made me realize, you know, the possibilities. You know, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I work with Clem Robbins a lot on a lot of books, and he's still sort of my favorite. And Clem's one of those letterers that when he sends me my pages back, I feel like with his letters on, it looks better. You know, and that's a real lovely thing to get that back. So we'll see how it ends up.
Yeah. Speaking on the fact that you love, you know, I'm very excited. We're all very excited to hear that you're putting so much into this specific book, talking about how much you put of yourself into your work. If anyone has ever gotten a sketch from you at a convention, they can attest to, I don't know anybody else that puts this much time and effort into a sketch at a convention in person. And what I love about you is, like, you're so awesome. I think one of the times that you did it, you normally do it sometimes as like favors to the booth, or, you know, 2000 AD specifically, you just wanted someone to buy something from the booth and you were signing that time. Yeah. So as long as they just get something from the booth, support 2000 AD, you'll do a sketch for them in whatever they have, you know. And so, sometimes I will just watch. I've already gotten something, or I'm just sitting there watching you sketch other people's books. And I remember there's a line of, I mean, you are taking your time on every single one of them. I love it. I'll never forget, you had a guy, I think someone was getting a Batman. You're doing the Batman. It looks amazing. It's in the rain. He's on a roof. And then we think you're done. You open up a different part of like your box that you have. You get this ink. You get this little dip. You take it, you dip it in, and you take your wrist and you start flicking the ink off your wrist onto the page. So it looks like these textured raindrops. And everyone, it's like watching Gordon Ramsay cook. You just hear this, you just hear this gasp of, it was awesome, man. So yeah, it's
thank you.
Just knowing that that's how much you put into a fan sketch. This is something that this book means a lot to you. So I know it's going to be a treat for everyone that picks it up for sure.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, it means this book is everything to me right now. It isn't lost on me, not only the opportunity but the responsibility as well, and I'm absolutely putting everything I've got into it.
And my mind is blown. Like, Jock is saying that his current work is better than the old stuff, and it's like, how do you get better than that? So
stop it.
So we were
man. Sorry, I'm British, so I don't know how to take like too much. Like I'll just go a bit quiet. Like you guys.
That's okay. We do that sometimes too. But you mentioned the personalizing, where you'll put the person's name in a speech bubble. You did that in your art book for me at a con a few years back, and I didn't want to not mention it here for anyone watching on video. Yeah, Gramps has one of those art books right there. And if anyone wants to see a great collection of Jock's art, this big hardcover book, The Art of Jock, it's from Insight Editions. It's just a great collection of his art, and you have like some of those acetate pages in there that show the process, layer on top of layer. And it is still available from Insight Editions at their website. And, the cheap plug for us, if you use our discount code BATFORCE35, you can get 35% off Jock's book there. So and it's
there we go.
All of us have this book already, but if you don't, you're missing out.
I picked mine up at MondoCon when this first came out. Do you remember in Austin, Texas, MondoCon?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So do you have the hardcover?
Yes.
Like the slipcase cover?
Yes, I bought the edition. They had 1 in 50 chance you had included an original sketch. And I remember the golden ticket. It had came with original drawings and all this stuff. And, you picked it out and you took it up to Jock to verify. And I remember you opened it up and it didn't have the golden ticket in there. And I was like, oh, and you were like, you know what? This one looks a little smudged. Go pick another one up and we'll see if that one has the golden ticket in there. So thank you very much. You gave me a second chance. I didn't win it, but I really appreciated that. And I thought that was really awesome of you.
No worries. Sorry you didn't get it. Yeah, I did like 5. They were like 11 by 17, a bit of airbrush full color. Yeah. I get similarly that book, I was lucky enough to be in a position where I basically oversaw it all, so all the design I got approval on and everything. And really tried to make it as the guys at Mondo are amazing anyway, and they make beautiful stuff. So it was a real opportunity to try and make it a good looking book, and the production quality on it I think is amazing. Like every image is like spot varnished, for example. Like that's really rare for a book. It's a very expensive thing to do, but it really means the artwork it really kind of sings off the page. So so 35% off, that is a bargain.
And this book is it. As soon as I bought this book, it became the standard for me for other art books. Anytime I buy another art book, I automatically compare it to some. It doesn't have this stuff like the Jock book has. It doesn't, So it's the gold standard for art books.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, there was you mentioned like the acetate overlays and stuff. There was one point where the publisher, the editor at Insight, was like, we're thinking we might have to lose one of the assets, because I think there's only 4 in there. It's not many, but he said, I think we might have to lose one and only have 3. And I literally said to him, like, I'll pay for it. Like, it's how much is it going to cost for, like, just that extra? And bless him, he said, okay, yeah, you can have all 4. So yeah.
Nice. There you are, Jock, fighting for the people again.
Always.
Well, I think we just lost Gramps, but I was just about to ask if he wanted to hit up a lightning round for us. Tom, you want to run a lightning round?
Let's do it.
So
what is this?
We do it's just a series of quick, dumb questions just for people to get to know you a little bit better.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll warn you, there might be a lot of food talk.
Yeah. It usually kind of delves into food talk, but we like to start strong. Jock, I'm not sure if you hit the weight room at all, but do you deadlift? And if so, how much do you believe you could deadlift?
No idea. No, I do not. There seems to be quite a few comic artists that like to get in the gym. That is not me.
There's a meme of Greg Capullo, and someone had edited in a bunch of weights on the end of his pencil while he's drawing.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. That's like us keeping. How about you guys have different snacks out there. I know that there's variants, and you might not get the ones that we get. But what is your favorite type of M&M?
Oh, dude, sorry, this is really out of my wheelhouse. I've got no idea. There's the peanut ones and chocolate ones. That's all I'm aware of.
Yeah. That's
probably chocolate then.
Okay, that's all you need. See, that's what I mean. Like, you guys have there's all different types of variants that you guys might have over there that we might not have. But
yeah.
If you could have a conversation with anyone alive or who has passed, who would it be?
You guys.
Oh, that's the best answer ever.
Great.
This is a great answer.
Here's one I like to ask. What is the best advice you have ever received professionally or personally, and who gave you that advice?
Oh, man. Nothing specific, but I was at a show in Brazil, and it was me, Paul Pope, and Bill Sienkiewicz, and we hung out all weekend, and we talked a lot about this thing that we do, and it was amazing. And Bill was just dropping, just nuggets of pure gold the whole weekend. Paul's one of my favorites too. And we had a really amazing time together. So sorry, I don't have anything specific, but that weekend with those guys was pretty special for me.
Awesome.
This is not quick fire, is it? I'm not being quick fire enough at all.
No, it doesn't have to be quick. we fire the questions quick, and you can answer as you like.
Yeah, I'm sure. Don't worry. There's been guys that we've only gotten through like 2 questions because of the answers they give us. Sometimes
we talked about pizza for half an hour with Kelly.
There you go. How about that one? Oh, go ahead.
What's your favorite drink at the bar?
Just a lager, like a Heineken, something like that. Just a straightforward, refreshing, easy lager. Nothing too hoppy or too IPAs or too crafty. Like I love that people are so into it, but it's not. There's too much going on for me. I just like
me too.
Cold, crisp, refreshing lager.
How about pizza? Do you prefer, if you like it, do you prefer that thin crust New York style, or do you like that deep dish Chicago style?
Thin crust.
There you go.
With chilies on. Fresh
chilies.
Oh,
there you go. All right.
Nice.
Okay. What is something that maybe when you do cons, when you go over, maybe across the pond, that you're over for a weekend, maybe a week or so, that you might find yourself missing, like a little comfort from back home?
A cup of tea. Yeah. I've long given up even trying to get a cup of tea in the States. No offense to the United States of America at all. That's not what I'm saying. But I've long since given up. I drink a lot of tea at home. I don't drink coffee, which is kind of rare, it seems. But tea's my thing, and I normally have a few cups before doing anything in the morning. So, but when I come to shows, forget it.
Yeah, we want to force, drugs into everything that we eat and drink. So, we have to have caffeine. We have to have caffeine in our meat and drink.
You say that, but apparently there's more caffeine in tea than there is in coffee. But I think that the difference
I recently read that was false. I've always heard the same, but I recently read that it was actually false. Yeah. So it might be a wives' tale thing.
Fake news.
There you
go. What is, aside from maybe your Batman stuff, what would be something that fans constantly bring up or notice or know you by?
Witches with Scott. We get more questions about witches at conventions than the Batman stuff, I would say. It's,
wow.
It seemed to really strike a chord with people. And, it was cool getting to work on Star Wars, but, and we are doing more witches. We're working on the adaptation together right now, for example. But one of my little regrets is that we didn't keep it going at the time, because I felt like it could have been something quite special.
Okay,
that could still happen. People still would love to see that come back. Yeah, I don't think that's lessened at all.
What is your favorite work of Dredd that you've done for 2000 AD, and why is it this one?
There's some Freudian stuff going on in that, isn't there? He's firing a missile out of his butt. Is that what's happening there? That's my very first 2000 AD cover. I might not do that design today, but the original of that, funny enough, is hanging up in Duncan Figueiredo's studio. He still has it hanging in his studio. With very early on, we swapped covers, and he got that one off me.
Oh, he's got that one?
Yeah, the original, yeah.
That's awesome. What is your favorite piece of original art from another creator that you have?
Oh man, I've got quite a few.
If the place is on fire, you can only grab one. Which one are you grabbing?
Yeah, the truth is actually it's not from comics. It's there's an American illustrator called Bernie Fuchs. I don't know whether you guys are aware of him. He's kind of, I guess you'd put him in with Bob Peak, kind of 60s, 70s. He's kind of my favorite, and I have a pencil drawing of his in the house that's kind of my favorite. But comics wise, I've got an original Brian Bolland cover there. Some 2000 AD stuff here. That's Steve Dillon, Cam Kennedy, Carlos Sisqueira. Got a Mike Mignola there. I've got a Bill Sienkiewicz original from Witches that he signed to me there. I've got Dave McKean Violent Cases page over there. I'm looking around. There's an original 2000 AD cover over there that's like iconic, from when I was young. And I love getting original art, and I love being able to swap it, now. Like the currency is the artwork,
That's awesome.
That's a really lovely thing. I've got a big Bob Peak painting there that I love too. I've got a few.
Well, the next time I see you at a con, I'm going to scribble a happy face on a napkin, and we'll do an art swap there.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Do it like the football players. Like, Robin, just take your shirt off, take your jersey off. You give that to Jock, and then Jock will give you whatever he's got.
There we go.
Sketched up. So.
If he does that, I'll give him my Joker underwear that I'll have.
Oh, underwear swap, even better.
On the con floor. That's another one.
I'm gonna get kicked out again.
Again. What is the? We won't talk about that a couple years ago.
No.
What is the strangest or funniest place you've seen your art on merchandise?
It's got to be that Joker. I mean, it's literally on everything. And when it's on like kids stuff, I find that a bit odd. That's a bit strange because again, like just what I said earlier. Hopefully, it works on as a comic cover, but it looks really weird as like a fleecy blanket. It's kind of. Is there anything more interesting there? I don't know. I've kind of been lucky. There's lots of my stuff has been put on T-shirts and stuff now, but nothing specific springs to mind that's particularly odd.
Yeah,
my favorite thing for that Joker image is the comic boxes.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, I've got one of those over there as well. Yeah, that works quite well, doesn't it? Yeah, thanks. It's kind of I say that with confidence. By the way, I'm so self-critical like with a Joker cover, like clearly it works, so I can see it a little bit more objectively because it was done so long ago as well. But they sent me some of those boxes, and they look quite cool. Thank you.
I haven't seen a Grim Knight on like a kid's lunchbox yet, but I can see why maybe it wouldn't be it would be an odd translation. But yeah, that stuff's awesome. But Robin, I think what's the question that we normally ask them to leave for somebody else? I don't want to butcher it.
Well, do we want to give him one? So what we often do is give guests the opportunity to leave their own lightning round question for future guests. So even if you take a minute, maybe we can throw one of the past ones at you. Whose question do we want to throw at him here?
Was it was it Brad Anderson?
The dog one.
Yeah, let's ask Jock that one.
Okay, go. I don't remember it exactly.
So Brad Anderson, and we kind of got a very scientific answer, but Brad Anderson asked one time, when you take your dog for a walk and you take the little plastic bag to clean up after your dog, when you pick up the poop, because you can feel the heat, are you really touching the poop, or is it not really touching your hand because of the plastic bag?
Well, that segues nicely into when I learned that when you smell something, you're actually smelling particles of the actual thing. So if you smell poop, you are actually, there's little bits of poop
inhaling.
So that seems to tie in fairly well.
There you go.
So I'd say yes. I'd say definitely.
All right. And what's a question that you want to leave for maybe a future creator to answer, something for them to ponder? What's their favorite curry?
Favorite curry. Cool.
All right.
Yeah, that'll be an easy one to remember for who's next. And this is completely unrelated. I'm just out of my own curiosity. Does your schedule allow you time to read comics anymore? And if so, is there anything that you would recommend people check out if they aren't?
I feel incredibly guilty. I barely read any comics.
I figured you have to be pretty busy with doing your own.
All my time making them, when it's my time off, I don't necessarily. Well, that's not true. I pick stuff up to look at. If it's an artist that I enjoy or whatever, I tend to kind of look over it rather than dig into the reading. So no, I get everything DC do on my iPad, and each Tuesday I do sort of keep an eye and download some stuff and read a couple of bits. But yeah, the truth is I don't have there's not a whole lot that I've been reading, and not a whole lot I can recommend. I'm sure there's some amazing stuff out there. What about you guys? What are you reading at the minute?
Well, because we've referenced so many times both Bill Sienkiewicz and Dave McKean, there's a current artist that always comes to my mind now when I think of them, because to me his art looks like it's somewhere in between the two of those. They may not be an inspiration for him at all, but they're what I think of when I see his work. His name is Martin Simmons, and he's doing Department of Truth right now with James Tynion.
Oh yeah.
That stuff is fantastic.
Yeah, I've not read it. I've got actually no, it's not James Tynion. I'm thinking of Ram V actually there. But I've seen some of that stuff on Twitter. Yeah, and it's quite sort of painterly, right? Lots of texture. Yeah. Oh, I'll check it out.
They're about to drop the Batman '89 comic by what's
Joe
his name? Joe Quinones and Sam Hamm, who's doing the story, who did the screenplay for the original two films. So that's something that I'm looking forward to big time. Really, really cool. And then Jerry Ordway is doing variants for that as well.
Oh, great! Did he do the painted cover of the movie adaptation?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He did 4 different versions: 2 for the first one, 2 for the second one. So yeah, the fact that he's doing variant covers for this, I hope he does one for every issue. Yeah. That would be amazing. So that's just an absolute treat.
I'm aware of that coming. Actually, that's probably one that I will read, because it's how can you not? Like Sam Hamm. 89 was the time when I was buying stuff, and I remember picking up that adaptation at the time. So it'd be lovely to revisit that world.
Yeah, just a nice little treat for the fans, I would say, for sure.
Yeah.
But,
how about you, Grumps?
Nothing at the moment, to be honest. I'm on a little hiatus.
He's called the Grumps for a reason.
No, I've been buying digital for since October.
Yeah.
And it's just, you don't have that, I don't know, that weekly, when I was working in the office, I would go walk to the shop on a Wednesday during lunch or whatever. Now it's kind of, a lot of us have lost track of time. So
yeah, well,
you
live in a place that was particularly difficult to go out and live life, right? During the pandemic. New York was hit pretty bad.
It was, yeah. So I'm behind like 3 weeks on my digital books. I gotta go to the to the comiXology shop, I guess.
Well, one thing that I know we will all be reading is Batman One Dark Knight come December. We're all going to eagerly look forward to that until then. And maybe once the book is out and people are reading it, maybe we can get you back to, when you're able to talk about more stuff, more detail on it.
Yeah, I'd love that. Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. It's been a lot of fun speaking to you all.
Our pleasure.
Thank you for coming on.
We've always wanted the opportunity to do this with you.
Yeah, we're checking one of our boxes off with you right now, Jock. Honestly,
yeah, for sure,
big time.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. But yeah, thanks again for taking the time to do this. We're all really looking forward to the book, and thanks for everything else that you've given us over the years. Very much a pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks, and thanks for your support. It's very much appreciated. So right back at you.
Well, enjoy the rest of your evening.
Cheers.
It looks like you're gonna get back to work. Anyone who's just hearing the audio version hasn't been able to pick up on this, but I can see the ink on your hand, so you're probably in the midst of work there. But we thank you for taking the time away.
No worries. Yeah, I've had quite a productive day actually. Sorry to keep you a bit longer, but so these bigger pages have been just taking so much longer. Yeah. But I'm starting to get my rhythm and my pace on now, and I've inked a whole page today, and I've got another one penciled, so I might go make a start on that.
There you go.
Awesome. Maybe we'll get to see those online soon. Some peeks.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks
Have
so
a
much,
good night.
Jock.
Take care.
And thank you everyone for listening. We will see you next time.